everyone. Welcome, everybody, to the Public Protective Services Committee for July 18th. The voting members of this committee are myself, Councillor O'Connor, Councillor Berg, and Mayor Clayton. And the first thing we've got is our Director of Service Area update. So, Chief Lemieux.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So from the Community Social Development Department, I just want to advise Council that the Youth Advisory Council visited the Transit Department on July the 4th, and where they learned about the advantage of electric buses and learned about our public transportation system throughout their city. Also, a Youth Community Social Development Assistant was hired recently through a grant program, and this position will play a key role in identifying local barriers high school completion and will coordinate a large-scale career and education expo in March 2024. And this expo will aim at showcasing numerous opportunities available in Northern Alberta and keeping our young workers within our region. The Grande Prairie Local Immigration Partnership is set to launch an immigration survey on September 1st of this year. And moving to housing and homeless initiatives, the Fletcher House request for proposal for service provision is expected to be published in bids and tenders on the city website this week. The Housing and Homeless Initiatives is working with a number of departments for potential projects that could qualify for the Housing Accelerator Fund program that was recently announced. Enforcement services, enforcement officers participated in change management training as the department prepares for the transition to the Grande Prairie Police Service. And the service agreement between Bandage Paws, the City of Grande Prairie, the County of Grande Prairie has been completed, so Bandage Paws will continue facilitating adoption services from the Regional Animal Pound. And enforcement officers assisted with Canada Day celebrations, including the parade on July the 1st, and extra patrols were made throughout the Muskogee Park area during the day, and only a very couple of minor incidents were reported. So overall, that was a very positive event. And officers from Enforcement Services also assisted with traffic control during the Eastlink Triathlon on July the 9th. From the RCMP, the Crime Reduction Unit conducted an investigation into recent break and enters to a local business on May the 22nd and 23rd. The investigation led officers to a suspect, and subsequently the unit was able to execute a search warrant as a residence associated to the individual. Evidence from the search warrant connected the suspect and another to several other business break and enters that occurred from late April to mid-May in Grande Prairie, so that's being dealt with by the RCMP. And the RCMP Community Engagement and Diversity Unit has been busy with numerous proactive visits to summer camps. They were present at meetings held for individuals with disabilities and were in attendance at a community Rotary meeting. So the unit has been making daily proactive patrols throughout Muskogee Park as well as various school parks within Grande Prairie during the summer. Community Knowledge Campus, we had a very successful 5th Eastlink Centre Triathlon, and the first Triathlon Alberta sanctioned event to host a Special Olympic demonstration event. So registration was up 80%, and the event was sold out. So really good news on the triathlon. A very busy few weeks of July. U of A Science and Engineering Discoveries Summer Camp for Youth was held at Design Works Center, and along with some football camps at the Hanson Lincoln Field. On the sponsorship side for the Community Knowledge Campus, Aquaterra enjoyed their sponsorship event at the Aquaterra Outdoor Pool on the afternoon of July the 6th for their employees, so that was very well received by our partner at Aquaterra. And Sports Development, Wellness, and Culture. So summer camps began on July the 4th and have over 1,000 registrations in 9 different camps and are over 80% full at this time. And City was successful in receiving a grant from the Canadian Parks and Recreation Association for Youth Programming and Events Assistant. And that will support our programming at outdoor recreation amenities throughout the summer. And South Bear Creek tournaments, so we had some softball tournaments on June 16th to 18th. We hosted 16 teams and a red-eye tournament with 25 teams. And the Pirates Minor Fastball Provincials, July 7th to the 9th, hosted 22 teams. And also, lastly, in collaboration with the Communication Marketing Department, an engagement page will be launched this week to allow residents, community partners, and staff to celebrate the life of the Leisure Center by sharing stories, photos, and memories. So submitted information, photographs, and videos will be used to create a farewell video to commemorate the facility, the old leisure center. So that's my report, Mr. Chair, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief Lemieux. And I do see Councillor Blackmore with a question.
Thank you, Councillor Bressie. Chief Lemieux, I did ask you questions via email regarding the closure of public swimming from 3 to 4 during our summer season. I did get your response that this is due to staffing levels, and this creates an additional concern for me. I know that you mentioned that you're in the process of hiring more staff, and that's a good thing. My concern is we've been struggling with staffing levels at the pool, at both pools, for all of the time since our recovery from COVID. And now that we've hired more staff, we're going to close for 7 weeks in the fall. And I'm wondering what approach your department is taking to ensure that those staff do not leave once we've hired them, that they do not leave during that closure and fail to come back. That's always a risk when you're closing for an extended period of time, and creates a great concern that we're going to start pool operations again in October, understaffed and not able to serve our community in the way that we should be serving them.
Thank you for the question. And Mr. Chair, I am pleased to report that the leadership team at the CKC has been very proactive, and we do have plans to retain all of those staff. So we have some special projects, a number of training events that have been postponed so that they could occur during that time. So we're very conscious of the needs to ensure that we retain those staff. So there's a really solid plan that's been put together by the leadership team. But thank you for the question.
Excellent. And
if I could,
yeah, go ahead, Councillor.
Could I ask one follow-up question? I'm glad to know that you have a plan to retain staff during that period, and I'm wondering what kind of plan we have to ensure that we don't continually have this issue with being understaffed. Are we paying enough? Are we hiring the right people? It seems to me that we've been having this discussion for 2 years now, and I need something more than we're looking at it.
Yeah, and thank you again for that question. So, yes, we have been very, I believe, proactive in making changes so that we have looked at the structure that we have in our aquatics area. We have created a structure where people can now progress and make a career out of being a lifeguard at the City of Grande Prairie. So we are very conscious of the situation and the need to not just attract but to retain our staff. So certainly I'd be prepared to share more information, more detail with council on that. But that's a very good question, and again, something I'm pleased to report that the leadership team at the CKC is, I believe, making some really good strides.
Excellent. I do know that I'd personally appreciate more information on this. Definitely one of the areas that I get the most concern from residents on. They definitely value our aquatics programs, and our staff that we do have are really great. So definitely an area of priority that I'm hearing in the community. I'll recognize Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. Not to belabor the conversation, but I think that there's significant opportunity in that, whether it's working with high schools in a RAP type program where they can be, where the lifeguarding certification is treated as a trade. I think that there is a lot of opportunity in our youth. Working at a facility such as Eastlink provides a great career. It's flexible, it pays well. It's a great opportunity for those who work there. And we all know that what a significant facility ours is, and so we need it fully utilized as much as possible. This lifeguard situation isn't only a Grande Prairie situation. It's across municipalities across Canada. We're hearing it on a regular basis of shortages of lifeguards. So I think a unique Grande Prairie solution working with our high schools and potentially youth organizations, Northwest Polytech, whatever that may be, I think is an opportunity. So I look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
Great. And I think you're off the hook for this one, Chief Lemieux, so I'll ask you to also introduce the next report, which is grant recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm actually going to ask Katie, who has prepared this report and done all the work on this file, to present her report, please.
Thank you, Chair Bressie. We have 4 applications recommended for approval today. The first is the Veterans Memorial Gardens. They presented back in May to Council for their commemoration event to be held in September at the Bose. Their request was $22,500. However, we only have $10,900 remaining in festival funding, so we also included a recommendation for gift in kind for the facility rental. We have 3 applications for sport hosting, including the Filipino Basketball League, the Aquarian Swim Club, and the Cricket Association, who are all hosting regional events this summer and eligible for $1,000 each. So administration is requesting that committee recommend council approve the allocations as presented for a total of $3,000 in sport hosting, $10,900 in festival funding, and $2,800 gift in kind.
Thank you. And I see Councillor Berg with a question.
No question, just ready to do business when it's ready.
Sure, I'll recognize Mayor Clayton first, and I've got a question too. Mayor Clayton.
Jesse, appreciate the fact that there was $10,900 left remaining in the fund. I'm curious on the decision. At a glance, it appears that the Canadian Motorcycle Tourism Association is getting half of the request. So question is, how many people are attending that event? And then compared to the sporting events that are getting 20% of the request, what are the numbers anticipated for attendance to those events? Assuming that it's a tourism event, it's bringing people in, etc. Just one group is getting half, although it's in a different class. And I don't know the numbers of that event, if it's a few hundred, compared to, I went to the Filipino basketball tournament and they got a few hundred every day for multiple days. So I'm just curious on the, let's call it ROI on the funding requests.
Through the chair, so all of the recommendations were just made based on the criteria, so we didn't look at the exact numbers, we just went based on what's in the existing criteria for each of the funds.
Okay. So do you know the numbers of people that are expected to attend the commemorative event through the Canadian Motorcycle Tourism Association?
I'm just looking for that now. Just give me 1 second here.
And with that, remind me, the criteria then doesn't include attendance?
No, not for festival funding, it doesn't.
But for sport tourism? Or sport hosting, sorry.
Sport hosting, no, it's just a regional event versus a provincial or national event. Yeah. Looks like they have about 100 people for the Veterans Memorial meals. It doesn't say specifically for the rest of the event, but for the meals that are being held at the event at the Bose, it looks like 100 people.
Okay, thank you.
I'll recognize Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, I just got a little bit of information. I went to the Filipino and the East Indian events this weekend. I asked at the Filipino, there was 40 rooms rented out to 144 players plus their family members. So 12 teams at 12 players. They came from Edmonton, Red Deer, Calgary, Fort St. John, Dawson Creek, Edson, Cold Lake, Fairview. Grande Prairie had 5 teams. There's 3 different categories. There was the 55 plus. There was the elite, which is an open, and at that particular area, you could have 3 Filipinos and other members of the community that are not Filipino, and then they had a whole category for 18 and under. So I was there. It was packed the whole time, and yeah. Anyhow, just some information. That's all.
Thank you. A question I had about the sport hosting grant is we've got money in the funding stream. The request for $5,000. Why was the recommendation only at $1,000?
Thank you for that question. It's just based on the criteria of them being regional events and not sanctioned provincial or higher events. Gotcha.
So that's actually in the criteria of it. That wasn't at the discussion. All right, great. So I'll turn to Councillor Berg, who said he'd be willing to do business.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Bressie. And again, thank you to our Community Advisory Committee that reviews all of this and takes time out of their volunteer day and contributes to this and goes through all of the applications. So I would like to move that committee recommend council approve grant funding in the following amounts: $10,900 in gift in kind and in the amount of $2,800 to the Canadian Motorcycle Tourism Association, $1,000 to the Grande Prairie Filipino Basketball League for sport hosting, $1,000 to the Grande Prairie Aquarium Swim Club for sport hosting, and $1,000 to the Grande Prairie Cricket Association for sport hosting.
Thank you. I see that in order, and I'm not seeing anybody with their hands up, so I'll call that to question. That motion carries. Let's go to council. Thank you, Ms. Bieberdorf. And Chief Lemieux, if you could introduce our Coordinated Care Campus report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as part of our mid-year capital adjustments, we have identified a need for additional funding to complete the project at the Coordinated Care Campus. So we've got a couple options that have been prepared for your consideration, and I'll ask Wendy Hughes, our Housing and Homeless Initiatives Director, to walk us through the report.
Thank you, through the chair. The report before you is a mid-year capital request for the Coordinated Care Campus. The Coordinated Care Campus is a hotel conversion to a multi-use building, including social housing, programming, and municipal offices. In early 2022, a previously unknown fire separation issue was identified that required immediate correction. With the age and size of the 79,000 square foot building, many additional change orders were required and revealed as part of the construction and demolition phases. These deficiencies were related to unforeseen abatement, structural, mechanical, electrical, water service line upgrades, fire suppression features, and a fire hydrant. These cost increases were due to bringing the facility to meet current building codes, fluctuating prices of supplies, and supply chain disruptions. Administration is happy to report that Phase 1 and 2 are complete, which creates 63 supportive housing units. The 24/7 support is made possible through Provincial Outreach Support Service Initiative grants, as well as currently meals are provided by the community kitchen based out of the Grande Prairie Friendship Centre. This is a requirement of the Supportive Living Act and is made possible through the federal Reaching Home grant funds. Residents will be moving into the building on August 1st of 2023. Phase 3 is still in progress, with completions of renovations slated for mid-September of 2023. This will provide 43 additional affordable and transitional units on the top floor, as well as a number of municipal offices on floors 1 and 2. It is important to note that this is a significant investment in recovery capital in the city of Grande Prairie, as the programming will provide a primary focus on a recovery-oriented system of care. This will provide an opportunity for individuals who are experiencing chronic homelessness to have the opportunity for safe and stable housing with individual pathways to health, detox, and treatment, therapy, wellness, as they move into independence. The program will reduce the need for emergency room and doctor visits, as well as additional pressures on emergency services. The Indigenous and cultural spaces will allow for spiritual balance in their journey to wellness, while the commercial kitchen on site will allow for skills and future job training. Option 1 of the mid-year capital request would see the project complete in its entirety. This option would cover expenses associated with all phases of the project, including $689,931 in construction change orders, $155,000 for IT and security cameras, $104,474 in outdoor courtyard fencing, landscaping, exterior stucco paint and repairs, and exterior paint of metal cladding. And then finally, $250,000 for the entire commercial kitchen upgrade, which would include an air exchange unit, paint, 2 hood replacements, 2 counter surface upgrades, fire protection, as well as mechanical and electrical upgrades. Option 1, again, would complete the project, meeting the initial project intents. The exterior stucco, repair, trim, paint, and landscaping would lend to an aesthetically pleasing building, enhancing the neighborhood environment. Additionally, option 1 would upgrade the existing commercial kitchen, restoring it to 100% operations. This would allow for the potential for social enterprise, revenue opportunities, partnerships, and job skills training for residents. The total project cost in this option would be $23,449,405, or a cost per unit of $208,000. Option 2, like option 1, includes the necessary infrastructure upgrade components of the renovation. However, option 2 would omit the stucco repair and paint, exterior paint of the metal cladding, and would realize only a partial renovation of the commercial kitchen. So again, $689,931 in construction change orders, $155 for IT and security cameras. However, $25,000 would be allocated for courtyard fencing and landscaping, and $190,725 for partial commercial kitchen upgrade, which would include an air exchange unit, paint, 1 hood replacement, 1 surface upgrade, as well as fire protection and electrical and mechanical upgrades. This would be an economical option at $138,749,000 less than option 1, offering flexibility in the project to include an additional phase at a later date. The commercial kitchen would be operable, providing service for the 63 tenants. However, opportunities for social enterprise, revenue, and partnerships would be limited. The total cost for option 2 would be $23,335,656, or a cost per unit of $206,699. Administration notes that although the Coordinated Care Campus has had many unforeseen setbacks, projects of this nature and magnitude have typically experienced budget increases over the past few years. A team consisting of corporate facilities, engineers, contractors, as well as our team at the Housing and Homeless Initiatives Department met bi-weekly to review the progress of the construction and to seek effective solutions to unexpected construction costs. The costs provided in this report are projections based on reasonable assumptions and professional opinions. Included in the budget is as well a 3% contingency plan. As we see housing and homelessness rising as a need in the country and across the communities, the Coordinated Care Campus remains to be a much-needed housing option in our city. Administration also notes that the sale of the former fire hall and the potential sale of City on 99th will offset the total cost of the project. These combined efforts have resulted in the building still being a viable option to a new build of this footprint and scale. With option number 1, the building will be fully operational to offer services as needed in the community while providing social enterprise and revenue opportunities, as well as integrating into the neighborhood setting, keeping within the original intents of the project. Therefore, administration recommends council committee to recommend council approval of option number 1. And with that, I'm open to questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, and I will just highlight to committee that the goal of this meeting is to figure out which option we're going to send to council for council to debate, not to debate whether or not are we funding, period. So I just encourage us to stay focused as we're asking questions and having debate. And I'll recognize Councillor O'Connor first.
Yes, I'll do the business if nobody else has questions.
Not seeing any eyebrows going up with you saying that, so
Okay.
go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to move that committee recommend council approve an additional 1.2 million, option 1, to the Coordinated Care Campus project funded from the Future Expenditures Reserve. And in speaking to this, I would like to see this project look good for the community. I think we've seen enough offenses, and I think we need to make sure that it is a highlight and well viewed for the community. So I'd recommend that you all support this. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll recognize Councillor Berg.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Bressie. I'm going to vote in favor of this to push it forward to council for further conversation, but just doing some number crunching. Again, we're doing 106 units, which is double 4 of the 5 comparators. So on a scale, it may look larger, but on a per door basis, we're about $22,000 below average. So again, they're in the big picture, the number may look larger because we are larger, but per accommodation, we're significantly below average as far as cost goes. So something that I'll put forward to the rest of council.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Berg. I'd also highlight that unlike other projects, we've got significant municipal office space in here, and we've also got a commercial kitchen in here, which I think could have great benefit to the community outside of this project too. So I'd even argue that our numbers look a lot more favorably because we're doing a lot more in this building than any other project is doing. I'll recognize Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. Just a question in regards to option 2. There are future opportunities that could be seen. So as you mentioned, it was a partial fix to the kitchen and a partial fix to exterior stucco. And you mentioned there wouldn't be the opportunity for social economic organizations to come in and work in the facility in the kitchen. If committee were to forward option 2 to council for consideration, is there groups out there that are waiting to get in the kitchen to use it? Have we had those conversations, or we're aware of them, or is there people that are going to be, okay, well, that's unfortunate. Now I need another place for a kitchen to use?
Thank you, through the chair. So we do have expressed interest with the community kitchen to offset, those travel costs that are incurred for delivery that they're doing right now in the Coordinated Care Campus. There would be opportunity for other organizations who are seeking a commercial kitchen to provide meals for the vulnerable sector.
So there would be I know this information, it's more to repeat it. I just want to make sure that community understands that if council were to go with option 2, which is approximately $130,000 less, that there would be social organizations that would be displaced in that process of providing food, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm not seeing anybody else with questions, so I will call this to question. That motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Hughes, for the report, and thank you to your team for all the work they're doing on this project.
Thank you.
And I will go to Chief Lemieux for our outstanding items list.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So today we have completed item 1270, so I would recommend that you would delete that one from the outstanding items list. Everything else is on schedule.
All right. Councillor O'Connor.
I would like to move that committee receive the July 18th, 2023 outstanding items list as presented for information.
As amended.
As amended.
Thank you. And not seeing any hands going up, so I'll call that to question.
Councillor Berg in favor.
That motion is carried. I'll call this meeting adjourned, and my intention is to start the next meeting as soon as IT tells me I can.